Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you have all the details needed to stay updated with all the courses, content and any information that I am coming up with. So let's get started for today's video.
Hi, and let's get started about knowing the PMP. Now, in this series that I have put together for you, it's a journey that we will begin with knowing what is PMP and its eligibility more in depth. We'll talk about the exam cost, total cost, and prep time for you. We'll see the cost benefit analysis and we will talk about whether it fits for you or not. This is the first phase. I'm in this particular video going to talk about today 3-stage process for the PMP certification. Let's see what it is. So before I get deeper and talk about what these 3-stage processes are, I'll want to mention here that it's something which I have put together from my experience and my journey in the past few years and my training profile journey where I have trained people for PMP, and I have put this together to simplify it because I have been getting so many questions in different phases and different chunks. It was always feasible, I thought, to put this together so that it is simplified. Now before we dig deeper, let's understand that career opportunity definitely knocks your door more with more talent. This is one of the areas where talent can begin when you get certified in PMP because it is globally recognized. Also, research indicates that employers will need to fill nearly 2.2 million new project-oriented roles each year through 2027. So it's a big leap in the market over the years, and that means skilled project managers will be high in demand. So it's really important that we know our journey before we actually get into this, from the time we start knowing the certification that we're getting into, how to reach there, and what are the implications. So to talk about that, let's talk about briefly the stages that I have put this into. So the first stage that I'm going to talk about is must to know, which I have named here, and we'll talk about that just in few minutes more in detail. I would really recommend you to stay with this video towards the end so that you know everything that you need to get started with the stage 1 or 2 wherever you are in this journey. Okay, the second is when you talk about PMP application process. So the stage 1 would be the areas like what exactly is PMP? Am I even eligible for that? Does it fit me? Is it worth if I invest my money into that, my time? After getting PMP certified, is it something that will benefit me in my career? Because everybody's career and journey is different. Your skill sets, your aspirations are different. It's really important. You must know where you stand, where you want to go. So that's your stage 1. Once you pass that stage 1, where you know, oh yes, this is my journey and PMP is something I want to do, seeing what it is all about. Okay. Then you go to stage 2, where you actually start your application process. Now, I will talk about the training PDU hours in stage 1 and 2 both because they are a blend, but stage 2 starts when you have your certification. We'll talk about that. When I say certification, it is the 35 hours video training, that is the eligibility requirement that falls into stage 1 as per me. So once you cross your stage 2, where you have already applied for the process, where we talk about the audit, when is it audited, what are the likely chances of your PMP application is audited, we'll talk all of that in stage 2. And then stage 3 is finally where you start your preparation, you appear for the exam, and you finally get certified. So the reason I have put this 3 into 3 stages, because I think at every stage a person's persona is different for any certification, not just PMP. So stage 1 for any certification, any career goal is common. I don't think it differently. Stage 2 is where you specifically get into PMP or you actually want to go ahead with the certification. So let's see more in detail all these 3 stages, which I have further drilled down into each small stage. Stay tuned. Alright, so now let's dig deeper and understand all these 3 stages for the certification, that's PMP. Stage 1, let's talk about that. So stage 1, where the first step is that you should know everything that you must know about PMP certification. Now, whenever or wherever you are in your career, the globally recognized project management professional certification, that's PMP, the objective is that it tells your employers, peers, and the world that you know what you're doing in project management. To put it more simplified way, you are an expert in your field. That's why people will hire you more, and you're not self-boasting that, but you have a recognized institute telling everybody with your certification or your PMP badge that you know things well, because this is one of the most recognized certifications. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And then we'll talk about what are the steps to get PMP certified. Now, since you know what PMP is, then we'll talk about steps to get PMP certified. Then we'll dig deeper into and see whether, as a person, when I go as a professional, what are my eligibility requirements that PMP wants me to have before I apply for the application process. That is stage 2. So we will talk about eligibility requirements that contain your educational background. You have to meet that criteria. Then you have to check your work experience, and you have to tally that with the roles and responsibilities that PMP needs you to qualify for. Now, to be more specific, you don't need to be project manager in designation to go for that, but you certainly need number of years of experience in the same roles and responsibilities, or pretty much similar ones with the different designation, which does not hamper your journey to PMP. And then finally, training PDU hours. Now, I'm not going to talk much here. I'm just giving you an overview, because each one of these stages in these videos that I am putting forward will have more in-depth details for each of these line items. And then finally, in stage 1 area for this series, we are going to talk about the cost of exam, overall training cost, and how much roughly it's going to cost you. What are the benefits of membership? Does it help you or not? Okay. And what is stage 2? Stage 2, when you know that, okay, I fit for PMP and I want to go for it because one, I have an aspiration to be a PMP. Second, the eligibility and other cost and everything that is needed to be there, I'm good with it. I can start the process. Then the next stage comes after your training PDUs are done, which is stage 1 as I mentioned. Your stage 2 comes where you actually go and fill up the application form. Now again, it will be an in-depth analysis. We'll go through the actual form in my videos, and we'll talk about your education. How do you put that in? You have to create essays showcasing the relevant experience, roles, and responsibilities. You'll have to put details about your references, their contact numbers, and everything. I'm there with you, and we'll do that application form together. I'll run you through the complete process in my next video. And then the audit process. Now, audit process is something where 10 out of 1 person is picked up for audit, and that's not something that they will specifically look at your profile and do. It's an algorithm. System picks it randomly, so it is your luck. So yeah, we'll talk about it. What is the process? What happens if your profile is picked up for the audit, and how to come over it? Okay, nothing to worry. It's just a part of process, but it comes into second stage, as I said. And we will know the application review and audit processes more in detail, just in case your application is picked up for that. And how do you schedule an exam once you fill up the form, and what are the overall timelines for you to get certified? This is second stage. Once you know all these things and you're set with your exam date, or you benchmark it, then the final stage comes in where you actually have to get preparation done for the PMP exam. Now you have a date in place, your form is approved, you know what you are doing, you have the initial training for 35 PDU hours. Now you have to do self-study or with the group study or with an instructor. That's a different call. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about PMBOK 7th edition, which is the latest edition on which the current exam is based. We will see what are the areas covered. I'll run you through PMBOK, because for seeing the actual PMBOK edition, you need to have access. So since I'm a member and an instructor, I will run you through PMBOK so that you have a glance through. I'll also run you through study references and resources that you need to study PMP. We'll talk about preparation for PMP tips with person specific study plan, when I say that every person who is going for PMP, I'm most likely assuming that that person would be working. So you will have your own timelines, your own background, you come from, your roles that you have been doing, your experience, and then we'll try and see what the study plan works and how to put that together for each one of you. In this video, I'll put something together and we'll go through it. And we'll see how to appear for exam, what is the setup with the few new changes that PMP has put forward in September this year, September 25, 2023. I have one of those videos already, but I'll still talk about that in my third stage video series. And then we'll see if when you get PMP certified, what are the next stages? How do you maintain your badge in the next 3 years? Because every 3 years you have to renew your membership or your PMP certification membership to keep it rolling. If you do not, you'll have to appear for exam again after the 3 years. So having said all of that, this is a bigger picture that you must know when you're going for PMP. This helps you in different stages and to plan it well for you. Okay, so you have to decide which stage you are in, and then you can go through all the series that I'm putting it together, because I am keeping all of you in mind while I'm creating this. I hope this will help you. Wonderful. Now let's talk about stage 1, which is must to know. In this stage, we are going to talk about all the PMP related information that will get you into a position where you can take a sound decision, or whether you want to go for an application or not, whether this cost or this all eligibility criteria, education and everything altogether fits you in or not. So let's get started. What is PMP certification? In here, we are going to talk about that. So, Project Management Professional or PMP, as we know, is a globally recognized project management certification offered by PMI US. It is created with an objective to recognize project managers who have proven that they have project leadership experience and expertise in any way of working. Okay, which means that even if the project manager isn't part of your title, the PMP applies to anyone who helps bring project to completion. So you can be a project lead or someone else, but you should be having the roles and responsibilities that PMP specifically wants. Okay, in the roles and responsibilities, we'll talk about that. I'll run you through them more in detail. And then let's see what PMP certification validates. It validates that you are highly skilled in first, motivating people and teams through all phases of successful project. Second, using predictive, agile and hybrid approaches to determine which way of working is the best for each project. So you as a professional there would be able to determine, seeing your project and its dynamics, that whether predictive is a good way of method to do a project, agile, hybrid or a blend. Okay, so it actually creates you a skilled professional who can do that decision making for the project. And finally, highlighting the success of the project and its impact on overall strategic organizational goals. Now, having said that, this all that you see right now that I have been discussing is put up by PMI on their website. That's what they talk about. But if you ask me, this is much more than that. It is for you a career opportunity that knocks the need for project talent that is continued to grow in the project management domain. And since there is a huge demand, as I spoke about earlier, there are a lot of new roles in the project needed each year through 2027 at least. So there's a huge scope for you for this certification to be done and being recognized in your own field. You don't necessarily need to be on a project manager designation, but you must know all the experiences and you should showcase them. And most importantly, you must know that what you're putting in your application is true, completely true. Do not lie in your application. That is not going to work. So we'll go through the rest of things, eligibility and others, in few minutes, and let's see the criterias and costing and everything that you need to put together in order to be ready for putting up your application, or at least starting with your 35 PDU training. So the key pointers that I want to mention here is, you not As I said, you need not to be a project manager to write this PMP exam, but you need to have experience in leading and directing in specific. That's what is mentioned by PMI. And while reporting project experience, you also need to provide non-overlapping experience. We'll talk about that again. All your PM experience or the experience that you're putting should be accrued within the last 8 consecutive years before you apply for the examination. And finally, you have 90 days to complete your application once you started it. So I'll not dig deeper into the application process, because as per stage 2 that I mentioned when we started this video, that comes later. Let's talk about stage 1 and let's see what all areas you need to know in particular before you jump to the next.
So the first step would be to confirm your eligibility. If you have a 4-year degree, all you need is an experience of 36 months in total for leading projects. But the good news here is that you don't have to have this experience only as a project manager, but any other roles which include roles and responsibilities related to leading projects. Additionally, 35 hours of project management training would be needed from any registered training partner of PMI, and this can also be taken online. In case you don't have a 4-year degree but a high school diploma only, you still can apply for it with a slight change in the experience that is needed, which will be 60 months instead of 36 in case of high school diploma that you're holding. The other criteria of having a project management training of 35 hours is a mandate in this case as well. Now let's talk about the changes that PMI has introduced into the application process. These changes are based on the PMI survey that was conducted recently to see what all areas are tedious for aspirants to fill up. For instance, earlier, while filling up the experience details, you had to fill it as breakup into number of hours. However, this has now been changed to months. You can fill it in months, which saves a lot of effort while filling up project experience details. Another one is the reference details. These are now non-mandatory, as the total experience shown will only be required when the audit is taken up for your application form. There are very minor chances for an application to be picked up for that, though it's really advisable to keep it handy so that whenever it's needed or asked for, you can furnish it on request. Also, the overall process of filling application was quite tedious with extended number of pages and details, which has now been reduced to very few pages. The good news is that overall the application process has gone a lot easier with the introduction of these changes. Let's now talk about other important aspects of the application process. Let's talk about the cost first. For non-members, it is $555, and for the member, it is reduced to $405. Now you might be thinking what to opt for and what is the membership cost. Well, the first time membership cost is $139, which is $129 for the renewal, and this membership lasts for an year from its start date. There are a lot of other benefits other than the total fee reduction for PMI membership. Some of them I'm discussing here. You'll get an access to project management websites like projectmanagement.org and other lot of materials in terms of articles, webinars, and reference material as well. Additionally, accessing these webinars will also add extra PDFs to your copy. It also helps you to build networking through chapter membership and other job network groups. I'll mention all the important PMI website links in the description, so you don't have to worry to go back to the video again and again, and you can refer to the description, and in future you can also refer to the important sites that I'll be sharing and the links in my upcoming videos. Let's now talk about the passing criteria. But before we move on, I'd like to mention that PMI never discloses the pass rate of PMP exam. It's all based on the data that experts have put forward after the research, and it shows that 60 to 70% of the percentage is a passing criteria for this exam, and there are total 200 questions. Now let's talk about the nature of exam, which is psychometric, which means questions in the exam will test your knowledge both theoretical as well as on the practical grounds, and these will all be based on the project management concept. Also, not all the questions carry equal weightage, and the level of difficulty also varies across the questions. These are mostly scenario based questions, and that's why PMI evaluates your aptitude, and it's a difficult one to pass. Before we move on to the last part, that is the preparation time, I'll also touch upon the proficiency level. When you get the scorecard, you have 4 proficiency levels that are defined in that. These are above target and target, that means you are up and pass. Another one is the below target, and last one is need improvement. The last two, below target and need improvement, means that you might have to reappear as you might have failed in the exam, but obviously this all depends on your scorecard, how it shows the final results. Now let's talk about preparation time. If we assume that you are spending 3 hours per day on the weekdays for your preparation on average, and around 6 hours per day in the weekends for 10 to 12 weeks, I think that should be enough time for you to prepare for the exam and pass it in your first attempt.
So now we have known everything about stage 1, the basics and the training hours. The stage 2 that we are going to talk about will be application process. I have put a lot of effort to get all these things in different stages for you, and I have tried a lot to put as much as details as I can. But if you still have more questions, please reach out to me directly. I have all my details here in the description, and please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It takes a lot of effort to actually bring all these things to you. So in the stage 2, just to reiterate, we are going to talk about application form, how to apply for it, how to fill up the form. Unfortunately, if your form goes to the audit process, how to get that out of it, how to resubmit, and what are the timelines. Finally, how to schedule an exam, and with the timelines in keeping the timelines in head, how to plan that. So stay tuned to this channel. I'll see you soon. Thank you.